My exploration into the isolated lifestyle begins in Guwahati, Assam. We have just finished filming an episode at the notorious Kamakya Temple. I don't want to leave before traversing a classic roadway into the country's most far-flung state, Arunachal Pradesh. I hired a driver to take me across the state's main road. This is the state's main road. A butt-busting, perilous drive up through the greenest, luscious forests I've ever seen. Then through a dominant valley all the way to a cloud-based pass. And ultimately arriving at the largest monastery outside of Tibet. While the vehicle is powered by petrol, I fuel up on the region's specialty, Momos. Delicious, fresh, and affordable dumplings available at most roadside restaurants. I'm hell-bent to eat these juicy morsels of goodness the entire journey long. As the road begins a slow, relentless ascent, we pass through dense forest. Here trails mosey off towards remote tribal villages, and giant waterfalls plunge indefatigably into perilous currents. We climb up farther to where the water, now deep in the wedge of the valley, has slowed to a meander, siphoned off for agriculture that is and was always in demand. In the first season of RLT, I saw traces of Tibetan history in monastic art. It was once an empire that ruled by the sword. Traces of that empire spill through this valley, which once fell under its domain. This area right here would have been where they held court proceedings. Dignitaries from Tibet would come in and pass judgment on anybody accused of a crime here in this part of town, in this region. And up inside these fortifications, they built these really thick walls to defend something, right? That something is over in here. This would have been where they stored grain and crops gathered from western Arunachal. And of course, with all this booty here, you need these defensive walls and soldiers to man them. With the ancient soldiers gone, I probe into the old structure. It's too bad. This is the heart of it, but you can't get inside. If I was an attacker trying to get inside, I'd be dead already. You see that? I look for a way around the back, and I just about have one. Oh, the devil on this shoulder says, climb up it just a little bit and see. Angel on this shoulder says, no, it's a historic relic. The next generation has every as much right as you do to see it. It's crumbly, it's a bad idea. The sun sets on my first day in Arunachal. I've made some progress, but the contentious road stretches on. I wake up early the next morning to grab a view from a nearby mountain. The way up is challenging, but the scenery is stunning. At the top where the clouds part, wild horses roam, and livestock grazes the grassy ridges. Here, there's a small village of Brokpa, herders who survive entirely off the curious animal known as the yak. From a house above, I receive an invitation. While I warm by the fire, the woman prepares the local morning drink. Yak butter tea.
Thank you. Very unique flavor. Very buttery. Undoubtedly full of yak milk, which has a lot more fat than a cow's milk.
Now, everywhere you go in India, you get masala chai in the morning. It's hot, milky, extremely sweet. As I lift this mug to my lips, my mind anticipates a sugary reward. I force a congenial happy face as I swallow down the salty concoction, sort of like hot, liquefied, unsweetened yogurt. Now I know. It ain't a cappuccino, but it's a tummy filler packed with calories for a day of hard work. The most interesting thing in this smoky house, however, isn't the refreshments or the architecture. It's the relationships.
This woman practices polyandry, which is not uncommon for the Monpa people, especially herdsmen. That means, of course, she has more than one husband, both brothers, which has its benefits in this society. If everybody had their own spouse and acquired their own children, the yak herd would continually get split up. It also curbs population, keeping the family tree more like a palm than a fat evergreen. And it's good for these kids. Both brothers are parentally invested because it could be their kid. So one father goes away on a long business trip, they still have a dad. Another one passes away someday, they still have a dad. See the sport? Wow, what a cozy little household. I really enjoyed that. And fascinating, the polyandry. In fact, Arunachal is full of tribes that have family structures which predated the rise of monogamy as a dominant social bond between people. It's like a glimpse into our past, how we related to each other in the past as humans in tribes. And maybe a glimpse into our future as well. Who knows?
Back on the road to Tawang, we begin a long climb. You make sure to bring a proper vehicle if you come this way. I cross Sela Pass. Cold as hell, wind tearing through like a steel dagger. Just below the pass, a giant war memorial clings to the mountainside. Old bunkers and grazing yaks inhabiting what was once an unanticipated battlefield. In 1962, India was a peaceable nation with a policy of non-alignment, but that didn't stop China from attacking. They came in from here and pushed 300 kilometers into Arunachal, crushing all opposition along the way until they abruptly stopped and just went back, taking with them a very tiny slice of land over here and in Kashmir, almost like a souvenir or a keepsake. It's an indignity India has never forgotten, and so now this entire area is littered with military bases, including one right here at the memorial. The Indian military has made lemonade out of lemons by seizing upon a story of valor that emerged from the conflict.
The Chinese, they came through here, and there was a battle right here, huh? Yeah.
Chinese bunker.
That's
Red flag.
a Chinese bunker up top, and here is where the Indian hero held off the Chinese for 72 hours.
3 days.
3 days.
300 above.
Chinese, 300 for Chinese.
It must have been quite a battle.
The soldiers who've come up to greet us chat affably. In such isolated country, good conversation and company hold more weight. In the rugged terrain, the warm shake of camaraderie feels good on your hand. The soldiers invite us into a nearby hut where we watch a video, enjoy refreshments, and take some photos together. Then I leave the men to their cold, quiet watch, bracing for an enemy coming up the pass, welcoming of any traveler to bring word from warmer and busier places. The road continues on as treacherous as ever, full of blind corners, any collision undoubtedly sending us tumbling down to the ravine far below. But eventually we roll into the small town of Tawang, where the world's second biggest monastery squats and sprawls its girth over a rounded hillside. After several days in the SUV, feeling every rock kick up the worn-out shocks, I was poised for disappointment, but Tawang doesn't let me down. Vast walkways open up to copious courtyards. Doorways pass into mystical prayer halls, laced with deep symbology and some unsettling images. I've come here not to admire this structure, but out of a curiosity for those who live inside it. Men and boys who have left their villages to abide by a rigid monastic existence. Inside, I join one of the elderly monks in his cleaning duties. This man is unique in that he came to Tawang late in life, simply deciding one day that he was done with his entire old scene.
I came all this way to find that typical story of a guy who has left his life, lives in isolation in order to become spiritually aware, to transcend. Instead, I found something a little bit the opposite. Here was a guy in village life, connected to a community, but he felt underappreciated, he felt underfed, and in that grind, he couldn't really achieve his spiritual goals. But here, he's got community, he gets hot meals every day, and he has a sense of purpose. He's valued in this monastery. And such, he's able to achieve his spiritual ends. He feels like he's more free to contemplate, say his rituals, his prayers, and reach those spiritual ends because he has these needs met, not because he's living in a cave, but because he's part of a community, he's part of a brotherhood.
Back in the monks' quarters, I join in on a little meditation. But I'm not there yet. Antsy-pantsy and eager to see more, I take my body and my unquiet mind back outside to get another perspective from Tawang.
How did you end up in this monastery?
Actually, in the ancient time, there's one rules, you know. If their family, there's a tradition, so medicine is compulsory to become a monk here.
You were the middle son.
Yeah, even me, I'm the medicine.
Unlike that old man, this young monk had very little choice in his circumstances. But he doesn't seem discontent with the unconventional life.
Are you happy here?
Yeah, we are very happy. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
When I just come up 7 years of becoming monk here, at that time I don't know anything, you know. When I complete my graduation course, then I know how to live on or survive, you know.
What I'm gathering is you're not completely separated from secular, conventional life. Or are you? Do you live here, eat here, all your life pursuits revolve around the monastery?
Yes.
Or do you have a separate life there?
No, it's as a monk, you know, it's not allowed, you know. As a monk, it should not be appropriate.
All right, let me ask you one last question.
Okay. Yeah.
If I decided tomorrow,
Yeah.
or even today, if I said,
Yes.
to hell with this show, I want to lead a pure spiritual life,
Yes.
could I walk in that door right now, take off this shirt, and get a robe?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I don't know if I'm there yet, brother, but one day, I think I have a few more spins on the wheel.
Yes, of course.
I came a long way to arrive at Tawang, but in a sense, these people came further. They left the world of Instagram, paychecks, bills, weekend parties, commutes, and hustle for something completely different. And here they seem to have found their niche. A niche that's open to anyone driven enough to follow in the steps of Lama Noang, letting go of the conventional world for a much different home.